Hello and welcome to Macstaff Live. If you are the preferred candidate for a job, you are in a really strong position, but being able to land that job with a salary you're happy with and not ruining it with excessive wage demands is a real art. So today I'm joined by Macstaff MD Anthony McCormack, who has had 20 years in the industry of getting this thing just right and helping job seekers make the right decisions in those positions. So join us today for securing the right salary offer with your job. My name's Martin Crowson, and good morning to Anthony McCormack. Hi, Ant.
Hi, morning, Martin, and hi, guys. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, this should be an interesting topic because that's where you kind of bag the deal, isn't it? So everything that happens in job search up to this point, could fall by the wayside unless handled correctly. So yeah, stand by for more info.
If you're watching today and you're not already subscribed, please do hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and you'll be informed of when we are live in future with more top tips for job seekers. But for the meantime, let's focus on today's topic at hand and securing the right salary offer. And why, strangely enough, Anthony, is the first thing to be aware of is it's not all about the money.
Yeah, and I can just sense people saying, "Oh, yeah, right." And of course, it kind of is about the money, and that you're going to want a good and fair salary, and to be compensated in a way that's going to keep you there and keep you motivated at the new employer. But this is about negotiating the offer, and in the client's mind, like it isn't, or it certainly shouldn't be about the money. So if you are going to set about trying to improve on what's been offered or what the standard banding is, then you're going to want to put other good justifications in place, not just that that you want more, but that you bring a lot of value to the table, and that maybe you've benchmarked other scenarios which would suggest that the money should be greater, but yeah, things like culture fit and longevity is what they're looking for the employer from the candidate. Obviously they're looking for minimal cost, I suppose, bottom line. But I think the most important thing to hold on to throughout this conversation, I guess, that we're looking for a win-win scenario. I try and do only do win-win scenarios. If I win, and the other person loses, I don't consider that a win, really, because it's one of those, isn't it? It's, you might win the battle, but ultimately lose the war, sort of thing. And it's a small world.
What about if you're contacted by the employer you're trying to get a job with, and they say, you are our preferred candidate, let's get on to money. Can you give me a figure or even a range that you're looking for, or even, can you tell us what salary you're on at the moment? So is it a good thing to divulge that information, or is it a good thing to keep stum?
Yeah, it's a bit of a dance, isn't it? And like you say, it's art, a bit of science as well. Like recruitment, it's kind of both, really. And it's probably a fair, innocent question from their point of view, but also it could be a negotiation tactic. And I suppose just be careful with the way that you handle this situation. And I suppose just dialing back a bit as well, it's they've been monitoring and assessing you all the way through the recruitment process. Now you're the preferred candidate they're offering you, but it's still not a done deal. The way that you kind of behave and handle this situation is maybe even going to tell them more about you than the interview itself. So
you might be in the final straight, but you've still got to make sure you're very switched on.
Yeah, could still trip up or be like some of these Olympians that we've just seen that are like, as they're coming into the final 10 meters and somebody else sprints past, pips them to the gold. So yeah, it's not a done deal yet. Stay focused, and I guess to tactically wise, negotiation 101 says the other guy speaks first, doesn't it? So it's not really a good idea if it can be avoided that you say the first number. Reason being, it's either going to be too high or too low. So if they're saying what salary you're looking for, it shouldn't be a surprise really at this stage. It should be maybe have been kind of discussed at least broadly at interviews, and they've probably advertised a range anyway. But if they ask you what you're looking for, you just picking numbers out the air, say, I'm looking for 45k, and they were ideally thinking 40k, then not only will they not offer you 45k because they perhaps can't afford it or haven't budgeted for it or whatever, or more than likely they just won't offer you at all, because by asking for 45k they know that you're not happy with 40k, and therefore if they offer that to you, you accept. You're a flight risk potentially. As soon as a 45k job comes along, you might be off, which obviously leaves them back to square one with the recruitment.
Of course.
vice versa, or on the flip side, if you ask for 40k and they were actually prepared to pay 45k, they're just gonna be like, boom, shake on it, 40k, like done. And everybody's kind of happy because you said that number, but you just left $5,000 on the table there, didn't you? So
yeah. What about just talking about that? If they do speak first and they come and they say an offer, you think this is absolutely what I was after. It's absolutely hit the nail on the head. Should you then? Is there any danger in saying, yeah, the hands out, let's shake on it there, or do you really do need to play it coy and try and get another grand out of them? Is there any danger of accepting that offer straight away, or are there any benefits of it?
So yeah, a cool customer, I suppose, might ask the fair question, like, is that negotiable? Okay. And then you might get a, yeah, I guess so. What do you have in mind? And then you give the second number and see if they can bridge the gap between the first and the second number. But again, it might take you back to the situation whereas you've asked for too much, it concerns them as to whether it's actually a win-win or not, because it's not enough of a win for you, therefore you might not be satisfied, sort of thing. So yeah, I can't really give an answer on that, but if you're happy, just accept it, I guess. It's the offer is a moment in time, like in what hopefully will be a long-term work relationship. If you're joining this company, like, you can get more money and more responsibility and move internally and all that once you're on the inside. Like, sure. If it's a company and a job that you really want to join and take, then get in there and show your value from there and go onwards and upwards. It's like say it's not like buying a house, or even a car rather, or even a house, like with this sort of thing with recruitment and jobs. It's a relationship, so it's more like negotiating with your spouse. If we're discussing how the chores are going to be allocated, and I I negotiate hard for the least amount of tasks, and just take the garbage out or whatever, and all the rest my wife has to do, then that might be like, yes, I won the negotiation, but like, I really didn't, did I? Because it's going to impact on a load of other stuff that's not even in the negotiation. So keep that in mind. It's all about that sounds like a topic
for a very interesting another live, and let's put that in. I'm going to write that down.
Yeah.
Spouse negotiations.
I expect she's listening too. Yeah. Probably earned myself some extra jobs just by being this cheeky. In fact, we'll see.
Yeah, let's feed back on that one. As we've spoken about several times on the videos we've been doing, it's not all about the cold hard cash at the end of the month. There are lots of other things that go with a job, especially when you reach a certain pay salary. So how important is it to understand that full package? So as in, a really good wages offer might take you into a new tax bracket. A company car might mean you're paying more tax on that. They're the things you've got to be wary of, right?
Yeah, so keep the whole big picture in mind about your career, but have the kind of smaller big picture, if you like, in mind about the the total details of the offer. There's much more in it than just salary, of course. The benefits, the medical, and companies are trying to compete largely with non-salary items, because salaries are all like roughly similar, but companies are showcasing their health care benefits, or the gym membership, cycle to work schemes, flexible work arrangements, the team building exercises and days out and opportunities to volunteer and things like that. So keep all of that stuff in mind. Like, you can't quantify everything even necessarily. Some of the non-financial aspects may well be definitely worth keeping into account, and that so you operate with your head, but also your heart with this sort of thing. Like, if you're going to be more happy in scenario A than scenario B that's holds a grand or two more salary, then scenario A is potentially still the best one. And even if you're just talking about financially, and people do get a bit myopic at the offer stage, kind of forget everything else and just look at the real nuts and bolts. And
I can imagine that.
Pounds and pence. But a little bit, a couple of grand more salary, it might not make the difference that you think it will, because, as you say, especially if you've gone into a different tax bracket, the tax man gets a whole bunch of it anyway. And the position with a bit more money, like, is that got more cost associated to it in terms of parking and fuel, or just kind of being in a city centre, like getting coffee every day kind of thing, you're £2,000, which becomes like 1,200 quid maybe with tax, which is £100 a month, doesn't it? It's like soon actually disappears. Like it's hopefully not the most important thing. Easy for me to say, obviously, but it's not. It genuinely is not about the money. Not if you're, into looking for fulfillment and purpose and work-life balance and all those sort of things as well.
We said there was a reason when you should make that snap decision and shake the hand and bite the hand off, as it were. But I guess most of the time it's a fair comment to say if you can buy a chance to say to them, I'm very interested. Do you mind if I just sleep on it? It's probably the right way to go about it.
Yeah, I think 90% of the time that's kind of fine and acceptable. So, you shouldn't risk kind of an offer being rescinded because you've asked for a bit more time, especially if you, frame it correctly and say, I'm really interested in the company and the job. And I'm planning to accept, but do you mind if I, sleep on it, or can you put it in writing and, just let me kind of look and think things over before I make a final decision. If they say
in your experience,
take that time.
Yeah, in your experience, have there been many employers that would take that as a bit like, well, we'll get someone else in to talk to them while you're thinking about it overnight then?
Yeah, maybe. You've got to do what you're comfortable with, haven't you? If you've genuinely kind of got everything that you've asked for, then stop, isn't it? Like that's like negotiation 102, I suppose. Just get the deal done. Like time kills deals. You don't want to let that other tempting applicant kind of appear in that 24 hours, do you? And kind of turn their head. So don't take the extra time for the sake of it. But sometimes as well, you're in a situation whereas you're trying to get a decision from another company, aren't you? From other things you've got on the go, and can you put it in writing, or can you give me 24 hours or 48 hours is sometimes a tactic to kind of draw your other recruitment processes to a conclusion and maybe make comparison offers. So it's not really good, I don't think, to openly say that, but that might be the reality of what you're trying to do, so that you can weigh your options, genuinely. So I guess in summary, if you want to sleep on it, that's totally fine, especially if you check that's okay with them. And it might not be for your own personal kind of thought process. Quite often, it's a partner or family decision, isn't it? Especially imagine if it's a relocation or whatever. You're going to want to make sure that everybody's on board. And I think the worst thing really is to kind of make a decision and then renege on it. So don't go back on your word if at all possible. Like your word is your bond, sort of thing. So if it'd be way better to take 24 hours and make a final decision, yes or no, rather than say something on the spot that you have to go back on.
Yeah, I guess that time would also enable you to actually think with your heart for a bit and discuss it with the family, because if you're the preferred person and you were discussing a couple of grand here or there with a well-played job, it's also important to let your heart come into the negotiations as well, isn't it? Career progression, location, all the stuff we just spoke about.
Definitely. And I said earlier, didn't I? They learn a lot about you, or the candidate at the point of offer, and vice versa with them. If they won't give you that 24 hours, or they won't give you that grand, then you're thinking, maybe what they've said about their culture isn't actually right. Maybe they don't specifically value me as much as it appears. If they won't pay what I perceive to be a market salary, and then you can again review your options. I think people normally do feel fine with accepting or rejecting an offer, but definitely, in case you're wondering, don't feel obliged or committed just because a company offers you a job. You don't obviously have to accept it.
Yeah. What about having the guts to actually try and trade parts of the job offer? Because, for example, if somebody offers you a role with free medical insurance, and you're already covered by your wife's medical insurance through her job, can you say, I don't need that because I'm already covered. Can I have an extra grand or 1,500 quid or something like that? Is that fair? Is that fair enough, or is that again, something that would get your employers back up?
That's a really good point, and I think that's a wise thing to do. Actually, good strategy. Partly if you've kind of feel or been told that you're already kind of bumping on the top, of the salary banding, maybe there's other things that you can negotiate it in instead. And it's I'm carrying on with the same theme, aren't I? It's negotiation 103, isn't it, to trade variables? So it's a win-win if you can find something that's of high value to you, like working from home.
Sure,
being in the office or whatever, but it's not going to cost them anything. Then that's a good win-win variable that you could maybe trade, and the life insurance and that sort of stuff. That's a good example of the other way round. It's like it's actually costing them a lot, but if it's not benefiting you much, then that might be something that you can cut loose, in favor of car allowance or some other benefit which you would kind of appreciate and use. And a lot of the larger companies, because as I say, they're competing like as much on non-financials as they are on the actual salary, then they're quite good already, I think, on having the what they call flexible benefits package, and you can do things like buy and sell, holiday depending on how much you want and things like that. So there are some good arrangements out there, and but it may be something that you can negotiate with like a smaller or more traditional company, definitely. And with the larger companies, again, it's about taking that time that you said earlier on to understand the parts of the offer and the values that are in there as well as the salary number.
And I guess if those negotiations at these late stages aren't going the way you wanted, and it started to raise a few more questions than you're expecting at this stage of a negotiation, you can always stay with your current employer as long as you haven't burnt any bridges when you're looking for a new role, in terms of putting your toys out the pram and storming out the office.
as long as you haven't kind of blabbed a little bit too much around the water cooler about the exciting new opportunities that you've been going for, and as long as you haven't already kind of done things in the wrong sequence and like ripped your shirt up and to show the I quit t-shirt and all this sort of thing that I've seen on YouTube. No, this is a serious point, of course. If you've handled the process professionally, kept things under wraps, not burned any bridges, then staying is of course like a viable option. That's the main thing, I suppose, that you'll be comparing it to. And if you're going to move, it's got to be worthwhile. You've got to make it count, and hopefully it's a long-term move that you're talking about. So you could change your mind and say I'm not going to move at all, but there's probably some underlying push factors that are making you want to move out of that situation. It might be your boss, might be the work environment, it might be just the fact that your salary is capped and stuck. So you might decide I'm not moving at all, but you might equally and it'd be totally fine to say I'm going to move, but I'm not going to move now. I'm going to bide my time. That might be for seasonal reasons, that you think there might be more job opportunities, like if you're a teacher in September, the beginning of the academic year. Yes, of course there's going to be more opportunities then than when you're looking in March. And there's a million other industry specific examples. The public sector tends to work a budget cycle, doesn't it? That's when the most jobs are available. Or you might and I come across this sort of thing a lot, say I'm going to move when my personal financial situation is a little bit less risky. You might stay in the same job because you need a mortgage in the next few months, or you're going to bide your time, and your partner might move jobs first. Moving to both moving jobs at the same time might be risk. Too much of a financial risk. So you can take into account factors in your own job, in the new job, in your kind of personal situation, and say let's just put this project on ice, but we'll keep it in mind for next month or next year.
Talking of that current employer that you're already with, and I think we'll go into this in more detail at a later live broadcast as well. What about a counter offer? What about coming back to your current employer and say, I've got an offer on the table from company X and it's $5,000 more than what you're offering. I'd like to stay here if possible. So what you got?
Happens a lot, and from a recruitment consultant's point of view, it's like, oh, the counter
offer.
It's so it's not typically good for the recruiter because the client's typically not happy and the deal's gone, or whatever.
Just briefly, Anne, good idea or not?
Normally not. If you're gonna kick me off the fence, I say don't take the counter offer, because the underlying problems with your current job or employer are still there. The extra money is not going to change that situation, and B, see it for what it is. It's a bribe, to get you to stay. And if maybe you don't want to be their puppet, maybe you've got going on to bigger and better things, and do have the courage to do so.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ant. That's been absolutely fantastic. We've got loads more videos on YouTube for you to have a watch if you are seeking for a job that cover all sorts of things from your CV, dealing with rejection, how you have to be wary of social media whilst looking for a job, and all sorts of things. So please, as we said earlier, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you'll see what we've got on there. If you want any more information about Anthony and Macstaff, the website address is there on the bottom of the page. And lots of the topics that we're covering in the YouTube lives are also within a book that Anthony's written called Job Search, Job Done. And tell us a little bit about that.
Just briefly, obviously I've been in recruitment a long time, 20 years, and helped a lot of people one-on-one with their job search, interview prep, offers, resignations, etc. And I just wanted to put all that good info in one place. So this is it, Job Search, Job Done, your one-stop shop success manual, and you can pick that up on Amazon. I think it's £8 or something like that, and the upside is massive in terms of getting it right with negotiating your offers and all the other steps in the job search. So there you go.
And it's a very busy time for the jobs market at the minute, isn't it? Coming out of COVID, coming out of lockdown, the industry's going mad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's more jobs and less applicants than since 1997 or something. I was reading today, but there's definitely been an extreme bounce back, and there's also what they're calling the big resignation as well. It's that people who've been there's like a backlog of people who have been dying to move jobs but don't want to in the middle of a pandemic because they want to hold on to their job. They're all going to move potentially in the next 1, 3, 6 months, and the turbulence in the market is crazy, really. So it's a good time to look at other options. There's lots more options available than normal.
Well, if I can drag Anthony away from his desk for 20 minutes in a couple of weeks' time, we'll be back live on YouTube again with another subject. So until then, that just leaves me, Martin Croce, and say thanks for joining us today. And Anthony, thank you very much for your time as ever.
Great to speak to you all. Look forward to next time.
Cheers.